Hi, my name is Roberta. Um, I chose to do my research on the deaf community. It is a community that has been very interesting, and I found this project extremely interesting. I did a PowerPoint presentation, but I realized it was going to be a little bit hard to do it. So if you see my eyes moving, it's because I'm looking at my PowerPoint. So the deaf community, in the Dark Ages and the Middle Ages, deaf people were looked at as being demonistic, and they were thought to be punishment, sorry, that's my son, from God because of the sins of their parents. They were not allowed to participate in church. They were seen to be faithless, dumb, and with no privileges. It wasn't until the early 1500s when Geronimo Cardano of Italy, tried to educate his deaf son that the doctor realized a deaf person had the ability to reason and to communicate. He began using symbols with his son and thus began sign language. In 1620, the first alphabetic signs manual was written. In the mid-1700s, in Martha's Vineyard, a sign language had developed on the island, which was used by both hearing and deaf people. Some of you might be familiar with Martha's Vineyard because of the presidents. At any rate, the first American school for the deaf was established on the island in 1817. And in 1755, at the first oral school in Germany, the deaf were learning how to speak. But in 1771, a priest by the name of Charles Michael de Aleppi opened the first public school for the deaf in France. And France is actually where a lot of sign language comes from, the deaf French sign language. A lot of people think that all sign language is the same, but that is not true. Just like we have different dialects, the deaf community, they have different dialects also, but the French is where a lot of the American Sign Language comes from. Kind of like how a lot of English comes from Latin. So, in 1864, Gallaudet College was opened Gallaudet College was opened, the American Deaf School in Hartford, Connecticut. It was opened by the man that I chose to do my research on, which was Laurent Clerc, and by Thomas Hopkins Gallaudet. And it's Gallaudet University. To this day, it is the only accredited facility offering college degrees for the deaf. So that's a very interesting point, I thought. Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the telephone, actually began his career as a deaf educator. Alexander Bell's mother was hard of hearing, and so he stumbled on the telephone while trying to develop a device to help mechanize speech. And in the 1880s, at the Conference of Milan, it was decided that there was importance in oral communication and less in manual communication. So at that point, the deaf, their ability to use sign language at school was taken away. They were forced to no longer talk with their hands and try to speak. That was really hard because if you can't hear the sounds, you can't speak. So it was a real huge setback, one that the community is to this day is still feeling, is that setback of their manual communication being taken away. In 1890, because of what had happened, the National Association for the Deaf was founded in the United States, and the NAD has been very important in keeping up its role in keeping sign language alive. In 1964, the telephone for the deaf, the TTY, was developed, and in 1972, closed captioning was introduced by Boston's WGBH, and in 1993, the FCC required that all televisions be equipped with the chip for closed captioning. To this day, that law still remains in effect. The Lauren Clark, whom I chose to do my history on, was very interesting. he was born in December of 1785, and he was born to a very important family. They were royal commissionaries. His family practiced a new law, and to this day, nobody knows if he was born deaf or if his deafness came from a bad accident that he had. He fell off a chair and fell into the fireplace when he was about a year old and was severely burned. It was later discovered that he was deaf and had lost his sense of smell. So, nobody knows. But he definitely played a very important role. He was educated in France, and he met Gallaudet there. They came to the United States and opened Gallaudet University, as I stated earlier. It was in 1817 that both of them had raised enough money to open America's first school for the deaf. So I thought that was a really cool point. The population here in the United States, the most current one that I had for the deaf community was back in 2010, and the total population is about 13% of the United States, which is 38,225,590. So there's a really good percentage of deaf people here in the United States. They do have their own cultural beliefs. Some things that we think are rude, they not only speak with their hands, but they are very facial. Their facial expressions can change the meaning of a sign. It was very, very interesting. They are a pretty closed off community. However, once they know that you're not going to harm them or you're not there to do anything to them, they will be very welcoming. I really enjoyed this time. Thank you so much for taking the time in this video. I see that I'm gone over my time, so I'm going to go ahead and end it now. Thank you so much, and have a great day.